Jai Telangana, can I say
Jai
Ravi
Telangana,
Teja?
of course. Why we should be proud.
Yeah, we just had state formation
Ah,
day.
yeah, day
Oh
before
yeah, I
yesterday.
forgot. Yes. Yeah. How many years
Yep.
is it now?
Yep.
6 years? Is it? Was it 14 or 8 years? I guess. We got it in 2014, right? I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah, you should
Uh,
remember it by second, bro.
Are we all googling at the
what?
same time? If you guys are looking up, I'll not look up.
Yeah.
I think it's 14. I think it's 14. I
You should
remember.
Yeah,
remember
14. You were right.
Telangana formation day by the second,
Yeah.
because I remember.
Yeah, it's right. Like we are proud. We don't have to remember. We as long as we know we are independent state and we are still
Arey, nahi, nahi, nahi. No, 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 because it was an amazing time. 2012, 13, right? 2012 or 13.
2012, they said they're gonna you know pass the bill, but they backtracked. So there was a big uproar during 2013, and 2014 is when things
right.
really started
Yeah,
moving,
two
and
Yeah,
then
things happened.
it was
On
formed.
regional basis, Telangana, and
Yep.
central basis,
right.
Modi came.
That was a very, very bad strategic mistake
Right.
from the Congress party.
Yep.
They thought they
All
can
good
give
things.
Telangana and keep Telangana, but they lost both Telangana and
Telangana,
Andhra, and also lost the power at the same time.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah. I mean, they dilly it too long,
affected them. Yeah,
so
and
that
also it was a more,
that
it
didn't
was a wave.
work
I
out well.
think even
Yeah.
if even if Congress have won in
I
Telangana, would
mean,
have not been like that useful to them anyway.
if I even remember those times,
Yeah.
I remember the conditions used to come on the front page of the newspaper. If you people need Telangana, you need to make Hyderabad as the union territory. You need to leave so and so
A
districts and
lot
all.
of
These were all the conditions
a
posed
lot of
to KCR. So KCR used to always like backtrack.
Yeah.
अबे जा नहीं चाहिए. We want complete Telangana with Hyderabad included. वो लेके सीधा एक की one thing he used
and
to
a
say.
lot of my friends were
They
a lot of my
them.
friends were like for that high union territory because beer would be like about 20 rupees or 30 rupees. Like a lot of people were almost like on the verge of maybe we should give it for this one.
Selfish need,
Of course, it
selfish
is
need.
all selfish. I'm kidding.
You don't. It
To
doesn't
be
matter
Padma,
in Telangana. It
Padma
doesn't
and
matter
Ravi.
how
I
much
mean,
the cost is gonna be.
yeah,
Yeah, go ahead, Ravi.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how much the cost is gonna be. It'll still be the highest consuming
Right.
state. I think it is
We still beat
in
Goa. I am
alcohol
still
consumption.
surprised that
It's the
Hyderabad
highest
beats
consumption.
Telangana or Andhra. I think it was
Yeah.
it together or independent. I don't remember, but we still beat Goa. Give them a stiff competition in terms of how much alcohol can we drink.
Yeah.
see, bro, Goa is mood
Right.
Yeah.
based place. R is need based place. Okay, Goa, it's like, bro, beach है, bro, mood कर रहा है, पीना है. लेकिन तेलंगाना సాయంత్రం అయింది కదా తాగాలి.
We go to Goa to drink
So
again.
the
Taudam. Taudam.
All right. No, my point being, no, larger point being, so
Right.
to be honest, Padma and Ravi, I was always a
Hmm.
Samaikandra supporter, okay? I mean, see, I was born in Andhra Pradesh. मेरे बचपन से ही that was what I used to
Correct.
write on my letter to a friend in schools and everywhere. So Andhra Pradesh, Hyderabad, Andhra Pradesh 5012. That used to be my, template. But all of a sudden, when 2012 and all that, I did not understand, because obviously I did not know what was the behind story, because अपने को स्कूल के हिस्ट्री में उतना कुछ पढ़ाया
Right.
जाता है नहीं. We are not taught about all the aspects in the history, what has happened in the past, and kind of revolutions which had happened in the past. So we are just like following that anthill line. We don't know the actual history. So I was like, why are they doing this? Why they want to bifurcate? It was like a second partition for me.
Right.
You know, like इंडिया पाकिस्तान कैसा होता है. सो लाइक मेरे हैदराबाद को तुम मेरे आंध्र प्रदेश
Right.
को तोड़ रहे हो. समाख्या आंध्र चाहिए. समाख्या, आई वांट दैट समाख्या आंध्र
Right.
kind of feeling I had. But eventually I realized, okay, there were certain things like Telangana people actually wanted. So yes, they were just in their asking, and obviously when they were so just, that is the reason why center at that point of time gave that thought, right? And they were like a lot of revolutionaries, right? Ravi should be knowing their names, who fought for the cause of Telangana. I just remember Gadar. Okay, he used to sing those songs and all that. So I remember in the popular culture, pop culture, which they say. So I remember Gadar singing songs. But Telangana movement also, I mean, people from Orissa who were staying in Usmania University, who had nothing to do with Telangana, its revolution, they were shouting Jai Telangana. I asked them, why are you shouting? You're from fucking Orissa. So they used to say that, bro, you stay in Usmania for 2 months, even you will start supporting Telangana. मैं हैदराबाद में हूँ पिछले 20 साल से.
Yeah, no, no. One thing I want to say, like, I don't think
Yeah.
Congress government did give Telangana because it was morally right. It was, they thought it was, they had a political incentive to give Telangana. That was, I don't think any politician. I don't like. I don't give them that much.
Mm.
They don't have any morality. They are not doing good for
Yeah.
people. Anything. It's like they thought there's a political incentive and need to give Telangana so that they gain from it. Only then they moved it. But it was a, there was a mistake. It was a strategic mistake, and KCR to, uh, uh, weaponize that mistake and use to his favor. I mean, it's all, that's all it is. But like, it's good. It, at the end of the day, good for the people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was too delayed. Yeah. It was too much delayed, right? The delay actually caused,
Heartache. Yeah.
much more heartache, right? Because when they said initially they were going to give, and then people said, okay, great, it's going to happen, and then when the backtracked, that is when it got really ugly, because these conversations, they turned like, no, we won't give. Do whatever you
Exactly.
want. I mean, who are you to give?
Yeah.
So that's how the conversation started. And then I think it came a long way, because when I was in school, nobody used to talk about it, and when I brought up the topic, people used to look at me like I'm a mad person, right? And
And
then even in BTech, we used to have this conversations. I was always a very strong supporter. Yeah, and Samir would know,
I was
because
refugee.
yeah, I used to just shoot down anybody who used to
I
come
was non-local. I was
against the
refugee
topic.
back then.
So I think the awareness came, and glad that did whatever happened in 2014, because if it had dragged for longer, it would have become much more ugly, because people would have been divided. Right now, at least
Right.
people are
Factions and all,
united, the
yeah.
states
That's
are
it.
divided,
That's all.
because
I
that's
mean,
a
that's
good
all
thing,
everybody wanted
right?
at the end of the day.
So
No, Padma, if you
exactly.
might remember, Ravi, even if you might remember, there was yet another clause in the government scenarios which was running around back then, and that was, अगर इनको तेलंगाना दे दिया, ठीक है, if Telangana is granted, then Maharashtra people will start protesting for Vidarbha. Vidarbha, there is one area which there was separate
Yeah.
statehood for Vidarbha was
No, no.
going on. I mean, small time
Yep.
agitation, small time.
Yep.
And in Nagaland, there was like separatist people who were fighting for Bodo land. Okay, that was going on in northeast side.
Yep.
So Congress,
Yep.
whosoever was in center back then, so they were in a state of dilemma. If we grant them, then these all agitations will increase. Okay, तुम उनको अब तेलंगाना दे दिए, now चलो, we will start our agitation, we will also do all this चक्का जाम, हम भी टावर पे चढ़ जाएंगे, हम भी यूनिवर्सिटी को ब्लॉक कर देंगे and all that. And one guy also
Yeah.
burnt himself, right, for the cause of Telangana. There were like
Yep.
two, three cases
Telangana.
which
Oh,
came
Yes.
out
Yes.
from
There
various
was a
regions.
student.
They burned
He
themselves
died.
out.
Yep.
Okay, so my point being कि जो है, so ये भी एक सिनारियो था which Congress kept it on stake and gave them the statehood back then. I mean, they passed on that bill, but they got backfired, and you see their situation today, how Rahul Gandhi is performing in the bars of Nepal.
no, no, that's the whole problem, right? Like, politicians think, no, like, again, this is more like philosophical, but the whole point is, like, even if India, like 50 regions in India want their own state, it is, they have to put it for a vote. If they have the votes, they'll win it. If they don't, they don't. It's not them, or like everybody will piece themselves. Then you, the only reason they want to separate out, because the government was not doing its job. They thought if they own, they can own, set up their own people for who can work for them. They are not saying that they will go out of India, right? They are just saying that we want our own, we want people who represent us. Like, until that point, people were representing us, nobody was doing any job
Yep.
because there was not enough power. Telangana had like only 60, or like 60 or 111 seats in the 274 or something. There was like, there was no political will to do anything for Telangana. That's what, I mean, that's why any agitation starts. So put it for
Yep.
a vote. If it wins, it wins. If it doesn't, then people have to try harder the next time. That's all it is. That's the whole point of democracy versus a dictatorship or authoritarian state.
Right.
Totally agree with your point, Padma.
Right.
The point is, when you come to the statehood aspect, right? 50 states, which you said in the very
Right.
onset of what you have said, like 50 states, everyone according to the region, if they start. Now we have like around 28 states. जब अपन पढ़ना शुरू किए थे प्री प्राइमरी प्राइमरी में
24,
we had
26.
26
Yeah,
state on a
26,
political
I
map.
guess. Yeah.
24, 26. Then later on
24,
Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand and Uttarakhand
24.
got added. Now Telangana got added. Okay, so we have this. But if you remember, on national scenario point of view, there are Punjabis who are fighting for
Right,
Khalistan. There is Jammu and Kashmir who is going for, obviously the India Pakistan which is
right.
going over Kashmir, and Arunachal which is still Aksai Chin se niche leke aa raha hai. So this geopolitical scenarios which are going on. Okay, India is like Ghiraufied. They say Israel is Ghiraufied with all Islamic countries. We have एक तरफ चाइनीज है, एक तरफ इस्लामिक है, नीचे से यहाँ से वहां से कभी कभी चुनमुन चुनमुन अटैक्स होते रहते हैं. We are like, and internal we have our own enemies like the late honorable CDS Bipin Rawat has said we are going through a 2.5 war. Okay, to like Pakistan and China, and the half are within
No,
inside. Okay, who are
no,
there to
see,
fume up, who are
no, no,
there
I
to
agree. But India is also like India when India got independent, it was 24 states. At that time, Indian population was 30 crores. Now it's a 1.3 billion. So so
लुट
like
लेंगे
your
अपने लोग.
size is increasing. Like how can you think that every state can control this? Like people are increasing, so you need to, if everybody wants to get their fair share of their value for their vote. I mean, again, your point, you have fair points that agar there is a, it is easy to break India and all of those things are very fair, but then government has to make that judgment key what are the agitations which are coming out of lack of government's appeal, and what are the agitations coming from like the Khalistan movement, which is like very, they're a very fair argument that it is a more of a breaking India sort of argument for that. But like not many agitations are breaking in, like yeah, the earlier example that you gave, Nagaland and Boraland, I think that they just still want to be in Indians. Yeah.
That is, I mean, that has just
And,
went to the jungles. I
and
mean, that is still in the jungles. People are fighting in the tribal. I mean, guerrilla warfare
but
is
anyway,
going on.
Right.
But
Yeah. So that's the thing, right? The smaller administrations are always better because you are not increasing the number of MLA seats, you're not increasing the number of MP seats. Then how will that person, like what Padma was saying, that we are fourfold now from when these states were formed. So how will this person focus on these many people? Like end of the day, it is the distribution of management versus employees, right? Like in any company. So if the employees are increasing, then you need to add more branches and then you need to divide them. You need to have additional managers to manage them. So that is pretty much what is happening. And the political will, there is no political will. I think Elon Musk always says that every action he takes for SpaceX, it's like how soon can he reach to Mars, right? That's how he calculates every step, right? How sooner will it decrease the time to reach Mars? And I think politicians, they calculate only based on
right,
what is that I'll get,
right,
right? Will I win votes or will I lose votes? That's it. They don't care about people's welfare, right? Can they
correct,
use it in their marketing? Can they use it in their vote bank? That's it. So if they are going to divide, will it help? And fear is a big factor, right? When they say, oh, it's going to get broken into
yeah.
pieces, that's a fear. Fear works, right? If you talk about development, nobody cares, right? Oh, ऐसा बंटवारे करेंगे, इंडिया के टुकड़े करेंगे, this people get really riled up, and then that's political will. That's it. That's how you generate vote banks. Other than that, it's a nonsense, right? If people are saying that we can control our area, Vidarbh is so backward, so instead of suppressing them, why don't you look at what can be done? And Mumbai is all the way on one corner, Vidarbh is all the way on the other corner, right?
true.
So if your capital itself is so inaccessible, then all your ministers are in your capital, then who is going to come and visit Vidarbh, right? I don't think there are even nicer roads there.
That's my
So
point.
it makes sense. Of course, people will give example of Jharkhand, that Jharkhand is not what is happening with Jharkhand, that is
Again,
what is happening.
Jharkhand
But
and Chhattisgarh are
was it,
Naxal infested areas.
I don't call it infested, okay? Naxalism only
Injustice,
lives when
right?
there is, something wrong with the
Lal
Yes, of
system.
Tala.
course, dude.
Yeah.
Dude,
If the system works, Naxalism don't, they don't live. They don't need to. right?
Yeah,
Simple. Nobody's live. There are no Naxalites in Hyderabad because everybody's employed. The system works, right?
Naxalbari,
When the
yeah,
system doesn't
that's
work, that
a
is when
whole
it's like,
together a
Right.
different dimension. If I
Yeah,
go
no,
into that
but the point
just
he's
start.
trying to say is the same thing, right? Like we are not saying there are some agitations which are not in favor or not good for India, and there are many agitations which are good for India. You have to make a judgment based off that, but it's not just like there are so many pieces. Dude, India is so big. I don't think anybody can break India because, dude, like if you want to, like the only way you can break India is by pushing like pooling in more money into the system. Dude, if a small MLA seat in Hyder in Rayalaseema spends about 150 crores, that's a lot of money to be pushed. So if you want to beat that money, you have to put in 300, 400 crores to beat that money. And which is, and people can tell, if you see so much money somewhere suddenly into the system, you can tell it's not like a small amount money that you can just pass by. So it will be hard for any country to like just break India. And again, India is by far all of us are like people. Now we are the generation of India, right? India average age in India is 26. We are about 33. So we are India. So all of us, all everybody in India is educated mostly in English. It is 70-80% of the country is educated in English. Everybody has access to the internet. At least I'm talking about the urban and the suburban areas. Most of India, that's where most of 40% of India is suburban. So I'm assuming 40% of India have access to internet. So yeah, I
True.
think we are good. I don't think it's a huge we have problem where India, a lot of Indians are not going joining the military. That's where we have the problem.